Hey guys, I wanted to make this video. I think maybe this might be a little easier and clear up some confusion. So I'm just going to kind of go through some things that are new. I think I'll probably do some kind of video tutorial when the auction kicks in, so we all are on the same page. Anyway, we have 2 weeks from the making of this video, April 26th, the night of the NFL draft, to make sure everybody is under the salary cap. And make sure you all have basically that's when the roster restrictions kick in as well. So it's all right on the home page. I think this is pretty clear. Basically, you have to remember that empty roster slots count as $1. So if you are at $98 and you have 3 roster spots to fill, you have to add that $3 per empty roster slot to the 98 for $101, so technically you're $1 over the cap. I think that's pretty clear, and I've been updating that every day on the home page as clubs make transactions. Also remember too, just that roster restriction. I think there's only 1 or 2 teams that are in danger there, but again, you know, if you have 19 players on your team, you don't nobody has a defense or a special teams, so you're technically 1 player over the roster because you have to add you know, this defense and the special teams. Anyway, I think that's all straightforward, and I've been updating it on the page. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can let me know. Now let's talk a little bit about restricted free agency. Alright, restricted free agency. Those are the tags. Basically what happens is those are the players that literally all contractual obligation to the team has ended their last game with your team last year. That's why they aren't on your team's rosters when it carries over to the new league year. They're technically done with their contract and they are free to negotiate with any team. Now you have the chance to protect those players. You can put one of the the 3 tags on them: the franchise, the transition, and the low tender. The players automatically sign the franchise tag. So when you franchise tag a player, he is no longer a free agent and he is added back onto your roster. When you put one of the other tags, the transition or the low tender tag, he is still a free agent. That's what we call the restricted free agent. And I'll get into you know, the protections with that. So technically what you have done is you have offered, I think of the running back, what is it, $13 for transitional tag. You have made the first $13 bid on him in the free agent auction. So think of it that way. That's why the money counts against your cap, because you have placed a bid on that player, and that's why he is on your taxi squad and inactive list, which I'll get to in a minute. But you can't trade that player because he's technically a free agent. You just have a bid in on him, and you will get you may get some sort of protection if you lose the player, which I will talk about now. All right, let's talk about the difference between the transitional tag and the low tender tag. Again, you've got a bid in on that player, depending on, you know, which tag it is. So with each of those tags, you have the right of first refusal. That's what we used to call, you have the ability to match any offer. So you have the bid in. You do not have to participate in the auction bid of that player. And then if you are outbid by another team, you have that right to match that offer, or you get to use your right of first refusal. Then if you end up, so if you match it, the player goes to your team. You win the auction. If you don't match it, you may or may not get compensation depending on the tag. So that's what we're going to talk about now. The transition tag, you pay more money because you will receive a guaranteed first round pick if you lose that player. It's a guaranteed first round pick. Granted, it's at the end of the round. It's going to be pick 17 of the first round. So, and depending on that waiver wire, but it's a guaranteed first round pick if you lose the player. So that's why it's more expensive, because it's a guaranteed first round pick from the league. The low tender, you pay less money because you may or may not receive compensation if you don't match the offer, depending on where the player was drafted. If the player was drafted in the second round, you'll receive a second round pick from the team, not the league, from the team that outbids you. And that's the other thing. It's not guaranteed, because if that low tender came into the league as a free agent, you didn't use a pick, or there was no pick ever used on that player. So therefore, if you decide not to match, you won't receive anything in compensation, because the player came into the league as a free agent and not as a pick. So again, that's the difference between the prices. And it's kind of a risk-reward thing. You're paying more for a guaranteed pick from the league with the transitional tag. You're paying less for a non-guarantee, but you may receive a higher pick because the player may have been picked in the first round. So that's the difference. You pay more for a guaranteed first round pick. You pay less for no guarantee of a pick. All right, so kind of moving forward. Anyway, you'll notice that all these restricted free agents are put on the taxi squad. So let's talk about the taxi squad. The taxi squad is no longer a taxi squad as it used to be. The reason that is because in the NFL, other teams can sign players off of other teams' taxi squads or practice squads. The way it worked in our league is that basically your taxi squad worked as a minor league system where other teams, they were protected from other teams, and that's just not the way it works in the NFL. So that's why we decided to change it this year. So think of the taxi squad as an inactive list, because that's how it's going to work. Unfortunately, just through the myfantasyleague.com system, there's no way to change it and call it an inactive list. So it's still going to be called a taxi squad, but it acts as an inactive list. So to compensate for this, that's why we moved it from 18 players to 20 players. All teams have to have 20 players. So think of your old taxi squad is now into your new active roster. Granted, you lost one slot because the old taxi squad used to be 3. The new one is, you've got 2 extra slots on your active roster. But however, since you have all these teams on your you can have an unlimited number of players on your inactive list. I think technically it's 30, which is what the league allows, or the My Fantasy League system allows. So anyway, I think that more than makes up for losing one taxi squad player on your active roster. So again, this is an inactive list. So let's talk about the players that you can put on your inactive taxi squad. The first one is unsigned rookies. The second one are retired players. The third one are the restricted free agents that we already talked about. The fourth one would be players listed as out on the official NFL injury report. And then bye week players, just a player on a bye week. So I'll kind of go through and talk about these in detail next. All right, let's go a little bit more in depth onto the taxi inactive list restrictions. The unsigned rookies. In the NFL, rookies do not sign their NFL contracts the minute they are drafted. They have to negotiate behind the scenes, and they do all that. Technically, they don't have to sign until week 10. So that's going to be how it works in the AFL. You do not have to sign. Your rookies are going to go on your taxi squad until you sign them. There'll be a rookie signing thread, and you put their name on there, and then that's when you guys reach an agreement, and he signs his contract. The reason for that, and I'll get into this more down the line when we get closer to the rookie draft, But the reason is rookie contracts are going to be guaranteed for the full guarantee of it. So basically, you're going to be your SPs are going to be a lot higher. I won't go into that right now, but rookie contracts are guaranteed. So basically, you get until week 10 to decide if you want to sign them. So if you draft a rookie off of whoever team in the NFL and he just doesn't play, you don't have to sign him, and you really haven't wasted any money on him, though you may have wasted a pick. Instead of wasting the pick and the money on him. So the second one would be the retired players. I don't think we've ever had anybody put a retired player on the, use the retired player clause. But it would just be, the Brett Favre retires, blah, blah, blah. You think he's coming back, so you'd put him on your taxi squad. Again, no one's ever used it, so that's not, I don't think, it may never be an issue. The restricted free agents, they're on the taxi squad, the inactive list, because again, their salary, you've already committed that salary to them in a bid, so that's why they're on your inactive list. They're technically not on your team. The players listed as out on the NFL injury report, we did this last year. It just kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility, especially in the bye weeks, if one of your players gets injured. Obviously, as soon as he's not listed as out, you have to promote him back to your roster, to your active roster. And then also the bye week players. The same thing, in the bye weeks, you can just move your bye week player down to your taxi squad and then pull in a 1 week fill in for him. And then obviously once he's no longer on his bye, you've either got to get rid of him or promote him back to your roster, to your active roster. Other than that, those are the only players that can be on your taxi squad. Even most of the time, the only ones that you will even deal with as owners are going to be those, the players listed as out and the bye week players. Otherwise, they're all pretty much going to be commissioner. I will put them onto your taxi squad as the commissioner. All right, let's talk a little bit about the auction. So the auction is going to start the night of the NFL draft because hopefully, guys will be excited for football again. And it's just going to start with those restricted free agents, the transitional and low tender tags. So that's why the deadline is that night. You have to let the league know who you're tagging before that night. Then what I will do is I will put those auction bids in for those owners who tag the players, and they will be on auction until the highest bidder hasn't changed for 1 week. We are no longer using that stupid poll system where everyone puts a poll up when they put a player on the auction block saying, I am out of this auction, because honestly I just hate it. I hate having to micromanage the auction that way. So we're just not going to do it anyway that way anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to just make it longer and last throughout the entire summer. So once all those restricted free agents are done, like I said, when the highest bidder hasn't changed in a week, then we'll open up the unrestricted free agent auction. So what we'll do then is we'll allow just any team at any time. We're not going to use the waiver wire order. Just if any team at any time can put anyone up for auction, so long as there's not more than one player per position. So I come on the league, I come on the website, I want a defense, I see there's not a defense on the auction block, I'm going to put up a defense. Again, it's going to be up there until the highest bidder hasn't changed in a week, because it's summertime. People are thinking about their fantasy baseball leagues, so this just ensures that they have to get on the site once a week. As we get closer and closer to the football season, that the time on the auction will become less and less. And I'm not even going to go into that now. You can find that in the rules. So again, the restricted free agent starts first. They're going to be on the auction block for at least a week. Once all those restricted free agents are done, we will just open up the auction block. So any team can put any player on the auction block, as long as there's not more than one player per position. As we get closer to that, I'm going to do another video tutorial about the total contract value bidding system. It's going to be different. There may be a little growing pains with it, but I think you guys are going to find it is really, really going to be cool, because then you have to decide, well, do I want to sign this guy, offer him 3 years for $5, starting with $5 a year, or do I want to give him a 2-year contract starting at $6 per year? That's really going to be exciting. There are going to be a little bit of growing pains, so I think I'm going to do a step-by-step video tutorial on that process, because we're all going to have to get used to the Affl contract calculator. You're going to have to, really know what you're doing. So anyway, that concludes this video. Like I said, we'll probably get another video tutorial up once we get closer to that the unrestricted free agent auction. I hope this cleared up some questions, and obviously if anyone has any questions, put them on the message board, and go Troopers.